Welcome to the Discourse Dive. I'm your host, Christina Nikitas. Today I have an adventure plan for us and a chat with our local friend. But before we dive in, please allow me to thank everyone here at BCAT who keeps the BCAT universe on its axis. Thank you to the staff members, Jen Dodd, Chris Flaherty, Robert Paris, and thank you to our volunteer crew members tonight who found time in their uber busy schedules to bring the show to you. So that's James Hurley, Chris Rose, Aaron Kerr, and Susan Linder. And on location we'll have Elizabeth Fuller and Jack Gilbert. So thank you all so very much. So just a reminder, feel free, you can message me at any time at dive@bcattv.org if you have any comments or questions for my guests, or if you have any input for future shows, feel free. So back to our adventure. We will begin by chatting with our local lifetime Girl Scout member and troop leader. Then we're headed for the museum at Cedar Hill. It's the Girl Scout Museum located in scenic woodlands just down the road in Waltham. It's a 101-year-old property called Camp Cedar Hill. To help orient you, it abuts the Bentley University campus off of Beaver Street in Waltham. Historically, that area was a dairy farm, and in the 19th century, Warren Estate, it was the 19th century Warren Estate, home of the paper mill magnate. So the Cedar Hill Museum opened in 1983. It's one of the most extensive collections in the country. This is a gem in our midst. It not only showcases the history and evolution of Girl Scouting, but it'll give us an insight into the lives of women and girls in that 20th century period. This museum has solidified its prominence in the national landscape, and it's a standalone museum housing over 75,000 artifacts, of which there are a few others. There are over 20,000 documents related to the Girl Scout movement in Massachusetts and the United States, including rare photos, programs, postcards, maps, newspaper clippings, and letters. Visitors can view the scrapbooks, musical instruments, handicrafts, dolls, and many artifacts, along with vintage uniforms, badges, and camping items. Also, uniforms and flags are available for rental. I know what you're thinking. It's news to me too. That's why I want you to come along and explore with us. We will be meeting Francine Edwards, a volunteer for over 43 years, and we will view the extensive collection of artifacts and memorabilia dating back from 1912. So that's a 112-year time span. I hope you find it fascinating. Keep in mind, we only have a short time at the museum to show you a tiny portion of what's there. So there's copious amounts of information for you to explore or even perform research if you're inclined to do so. So here's a bit more of the history about the museum. Dorothy Prescott was the Girl Scout Historical Committee chair in the 1950s, who fortified the collection effort. And if it wasn't for her foresight, the museum venture simply could never have been. So we applaud the late Miss Prescott. Fast forward now, let's say 25 to 30 years later, and with the vision and fortitude of Miss Patricia Ross, along with a whopping budget of $100, she founded the museum in 1983 in Waltham. Others who assisted in the museum effort in the late 70s and early 80s were Francine Edwards, Jean Callan, Mary Coughlin, and Winona Smith. So also to get a better feel for the year 1912, when the Girl Scouts was founded, realize now that the suffragette movement was at full speed, and they were marching in New York City at this time. And some of the women suffragettes were also members of the newly founded Girl Scouts. It was a call to action period in women's history. Also, at that time, Thomas Edison was working with Henry Ford, creating electric cars. Our Fenway Park and Detroit Tiger Stadium opened. Sadly, we recall the Titanic's fate at this time. But best of all, Oreos, yes, Oreo cookies, they were born. So in any case, if you wish to donate either memorabilia or financial support to the museum, you can always email them at cedarhillmuseumgs@gmail.com. Museum hours are by appointment only, so email them, or you can visit their website at gsema.org. So that's the Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts. So you can request a visit online. Also, there's a very handy tool online if you wanted to check if your employer participates in the matching gift program. Also, if you have an extra hour per week to spare, consider volunteering and making new friends. The volunteers come from all walks of life: teachers, engineers, bankers, and the like. They perform tasks commensurate with their interests and skills: research, exhibits, digitizing information. Whatever your strengths, they would be glad to have you on their team. So, okay, as promised, shortly we'll have a chance to chat with our local Burlington resident. Please allow us now a brief moment to invite our guest in. In the meantime, enjoy some photos and the evolution of the museum, which has tripled in size since 1983. And view the photos of the Girl Scouts founder Juliet Lowe of Savannah, Georgia, and the Boston philanthropist Helen Storrow, including the Girl Scout Promise in Law. We will be back momentarily. Thank you for your patience. Our guest today is Linda McNamee, an active volunteer in our local community, president of the BCAT Board of Directors, producer and host of her own talk show for at least a dozen years called Something to Talk About, a Girl Scout lifetime member, and a Burlington Girl Scout troop leader, troop number 69023. I'm so eager to introduce you to Linda McNamee. Welcome.
Thank you, Christine. I'm not used to sitting on this side of the set. So.
I know.
But it's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to have you. I know you had a very busy summer with the children off in different directions.
Yeah. But my son's at Scout camp right now. My daughter's visiting her grandparents, and I'm still running around like a crazy person. But I think that's kind of just par for the course.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a lifetime Girl Scout member. From what age did you begin? And tell us a little bit about your...
Well, Girl Scouting for me is a little bit different. I was only a Girl Scout as a youth for about 3 years. But I grew up in a scouting household. My father and my brother were, involved in Boy Scouts. And at that time, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts were very separate organizations, since they still are today. Mm-hmm. But as a Girl Scout, we could never find leaders. And, I'd do Girl Scouts for 1 year and we'd lose the leader, and we'd find another leader and then that person left. So I promised myself that if and when I ever had kids, I was going to be their Scout leader, because I find so much value in the Scouting program that I really want to, continue the traditions, continue everything that the program has to offer. So when I became an adult, yes, I became involved volunteering. Eventually I had kids. When my daughter was old enough to become a Girl Scout, she said she would only do it if I was her leader. And I'm like, that was a no-brainer. So it is now 11 years later,
oh my goodness,
and I'm still with the same group of girls.
Interesting. How did your involvement, at any stage of your life, how did it change your life? Excuse me.
Well, I think Girl Scouts, and again, I'm probably touching on why Girl Scouts will always remain a girl-centric organization, is In society today, there are so many ways that women are discriminated against. There is that glass ceiling. There are limited opportunities. And Girl Scouting gives girls the opportunity to develop skills, develop their personalities, develop their confidence. So when they do enter the real world and when they do enter society and they're faced with this discrimination and they're faced with gender inequality, they have the strength and the skills to pretty much compensate.
Fascinating. So let's start from the beginning here,
Okay.
just to try and catch us up. How many different levels are there of Girl Scouts in terms of, the age groups and
Okay.
what they're called and whatever?
Okay, there is a lot of misconception because a lot of people think that the green uniforms are Girl Scouts and everything else is different. So a girl is invited to join Girl Scouting when she enters kindergarten. So kindergarten and first grade is known as Daisy Girl Scouts, and Daisy got the name from Juliette Lowe's nickname.
Oh my.
So when she was growing up, her nickname was Daisy. Then in second and third grade, the girls transitioned to a brown uniform, which is brownies. And that brownie is actually a carryover from the original Girl Guide program that was developed a few years prior in England.
In England, right.
And brownies are just like helpful little sprites that, go around and they're really helpful and do a good turn daily. Then
That was my only level, by the way.
Well, daisies weren't around when we were young enough to be daisies. I think they started in the early 80s, maybe. But then, so Daisy is kindergarten, first grade, Brownie, second and third. Juniors, which are the green uniforms, are fourth and fifth. And then after that, they transition to cadets, which is sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. Seniors, ninth and 10th. And then ambassadors, which is 11th and 12th grade. Then after they graduate from high school, they can bridge to adult.
Okay. All right.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
that helps out a lot. The other thing I'm curious about is the different award levels.
Okay, so each level, so Daisy, Brownie, Junior, etc., has their own badges that they are welcome to earn, and they're different skills. And they teach things like money management or cooperative play or being trustworthy or artistic or STEM or anything imaginable. There are badges for. But because it's developmental, the requirements to earn the badges are based on that grade or that level.
Okay.
So as the girl gets older, it gets harder and more complicated and more involved to earn the badges. There are additional awards that a girl can earn at each level. There's a safety award, there's Cookie Entrepreneur, there's My Promise, My Faith. So it's how to live the Girl Scout law and the Girl Scout promise in whatever religious or spiritual belief system they have. And then when the girls get older, they can earn the highest awards, which are bronze, silver, and gold. And those are also developmentally appropriate.
Okay. How old are girls generally when they are reaching those higher awards like bronze, silver, and
Okay, bronze is targeted to be for juniors, so fourth and fifth grade.
Okay.
And they work on a take action project, which is a little more than a community service project. Take action projects identify an issue in their community. They advocate for that issue, and then they make it sustainable. So after they step back, the issue is still corrected or the issue is still being focused on. Okay. So that's the same for the bronze, silver, and gold. Okay. The bronze level, the girls get to work in teams of about 8. and each girl is expected to work about 20 hours on the project.
Okay.
So each girl learns project management skills. They have to reach out to members of their community. They need to educate, advocate, and create that sustainability factor. In middle school, so 6th, 7th, and 8th at the cadet level, they're allowed to earn a silver award, which is pretty much the same thing with the take action, but they work in teams of 2 or 3, and each Girl Scout needs to spend about 50 hours on the project.
Okay.
So they're getting older, they've been through it before, they're a little bit better and capable of doing a little bit more.
Right.
Then the Gold Award is for high school students, so either at the senior or ambassador level, and at that point in time, the girl is responsible for her own project. She doesn't have to do it by herself, but she is the point person. She is the project manager, and her project needs to incorporate about 80 hours worth of work.
80 hours.
And that's really when the sustainability factor is required. Before, it's just think about it, can you make it sustainable? But then at the Gold Award, you have to make it sustainable.
Fascinating. I was also reading that girls who have these higher level awards, when they're applying for internships or colleges or whatnot, that these are really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in today's society know exactly what you say if you're a Boy Scout and you're an Eagle Scout. A lot of people know exactly what that is. Gold Award is as much work, and depending on who you ask, could be more. But if you earn your Gold Award, it does look fabulous on a resume.
Okay.
If you enter the military, you can enter one level higher.
Oh my goodness.
And then your peers. Works great on job applications, and everybody just identifies. If you are a Gold Award recipient, or even if you're a Silver Award recipient, you've done this in middle school, you have the ability to plan time management, money management, project management, people skills, and those are some of the skills that are developed not just in the higher awards, but at any level of Girl Scouting.
Okay. Fascinating.
So it's actually, it really is life skills.
That is fascinating. So I don't know if, in education we talk a lot about STEM, right?
Yes.
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So is this old news for the Girl Scouts? Have they been incorporating badges?
They
toward
have
that?
been. To keep it fresh, like you had mentioned, back in 1912, some of the requirements or some of the badge work was, semaphore. Well, not really used a lot today, but there are definitely STEM-focused programs. GSEMA, or Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts, recently acquired a STEM mobile vehicle. So this vehicle can go out to the communities and teach girls STEM curriculum.
Oh my goodness.
And it brings it to those it brings it to every area, but particularly those underprivileged areas where girls might not have the resources available for, understanding what NASA does or figure out, maybe not nuclear reactions, but experience STEM hands-on.
That is unbelievable.
In addition to the badge work.
Wow. Are there a lot of troop leaders in the inner city in Boston?
I think it's like any volunteer-driven organization. Always hard to find leaders, and there are girls that want to be involved, but parents nowadays and adults nowadays are being pulled in so many different directions. So for the inner city or the underrepresented and under-resourced neighborhoods, the council gives them a little bit more help. We're starting a brand new program this year where brand new Daisy leaders, and again, they're requirements, but they can get like a Daisy kit in a box, and it provides you all the materials and all the resources that an adult would need to run a Girl Scout troop.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, from scissors and markers to curriculum and, you know, just general ideas.
Oh, fantastic.
And there's so much available on the website as well.
Really? Wow. So the management is really on top of this.
They're working on it.
Very exciting.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah. So I know your son Evan is in Boy Scouts. He's at camp right now,
Yes,
as
he
we
is.
said, and your daughter is a Girl Scout. Gwyneth, your daughter, and her classmate Magna,
Yes.
Dinesh, they started, I just love this festival, this cultural fest in Burlington last year.
Yes.
Can you tell the viewers about this
Well,
festival?
that was actually their Silver Award project. They identified an issue in the community where, you know, in the Burlington Public Schools, and again, I don't remember exactly, but I believe the superintendent's office said that there were over 50 different languages spoken as primary languages in Burlington students' homes. So, and the girls looked at this and they said, you know, there are so many different festivals. Why do we not celebrate the different cultures? So they partnered, you know, this was their Silver Award. They wanted to educate the community on the diversity of our neighborhoods, of our community. They wanted to advocate for that diversity. And their sustainability piece was they partnered with the Parks and Rec Department, and they worked with Kelly Lehman, and Kelly was fabulous and amazing, and the rest of her staff. They walked she walked the girls through each step. The girls had to go in front of the select board to say, hey, this is what we want to do. They got full support of the select board. They reached out to the community, and they were a little disappointed the first year because they really, really struggled. But the event was much more successful than anybody thought it would be, including the girls. And they had their second one just last month, doubled in size.
Doubled. I was there. I know. It was so exciting.
And the girls just looked at that and thinking, you know, they were 14 years old when they did this.
Yeah.
And they're like, we did this. 2 13, 14-year-old girls
Yeah.
in Burlington did this. We made an impact. And I think that's what Girl Scouting does.
Yeah.
Whether it's as big as a multicultural festival or, you know, anything. The girls actually learn that they have the power to change the world. And I know it sounds silly, but make the world a better place.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's actually part of the motto.
Oh, is it? Yeah. What is the motto?
Girl Scouts build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah, I like to believe that as a leader, I'm making my own little corner of the world a better place.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I have to congratulate
So,
you and your family because that was a huge feat for the community. We're all benefiting from it. It's so delightful to be able to share, you know, everybody, knit the community together for sure, and to share with everybody. It was wonderful, really wonderful. So that was their Silver Award.
Yes.
Okay.
they've started to work on gold, but I have no idea what their plans are.
Really, huh?
But by the time they get to gold, they're, you know, responsible now.
Right.
They've been through it through the Bronze and Silver Award.
Yeah.
And those are not necessarily requirements or prerequisites for the Gold Award, but we don't have to go into that now. But both of them are planning on earning their gold, and it's a much more involved process. And that's when the leader actually has to step back. And the girl gets a subject matter expert as her project advisor, And then she's also assigned a mentor for, from the Girl Scouts, from the Gold Award Committee, who makes sure that she goes through the process correctly.
Oh, okay. So there's support through the organization.
Definitely support. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. So I know you brought some things with you. I can't wait for this show and tell period.
Okay.
Where are we going to start?
You want to look at the uniforms first?
Whatever
we talked about the different levels.
Yes.
And, I'm kind of laughing because, this was my kindergartner's uniform.
Oh my God.
Okay, some of the badges had to be moved, but the front of each uniform is for anything that the girl has earned as part of the Girl Scouts. But the cool thing is the back is all the other fun stuff that they get to do through Girl Scouting.
Goodness.
So this was...
Do you mind if we read some of these?
Oh, sure. So when...
The front ones are...
Front ones are earned.
Okay. And
so back when she started, the petals were the only options for badges. And the leaves are financial training, financial education.
Oh.
Now the girls get to earn other badges like automotive design, robotics, programming, cybersecurity. You were asking about STEM. But then on the back are all the cool things. Like, they make cards for veterans. We went to a corn maze. We participated in the Memorial Day Parade. They actually met the CEO of Girl Scouts, who gave them her own special patch.
Oh my goodness.
Pumpkin patch, cookies for the troops. I mean, anything. Oh, sign language. When my girls were in kindergarten, they actually, we were talking about different languages. They learned the Girl Scout promise in American Sign Language.
You're kidding.
So,
do you happen to know what that is?
I do, I think I remember it. So, some of it took a little liberties, but it's on my honor. I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, which is actually help always, and to live or obey the Girl Scout law.
How beautiful.
And I haven't gotten around to learning the promise yet, or the oath, the law. Yeah, the law. Haven't done that yet, but there's still time.
And they were learning that at age
6.
6.
5 or 6, yeah.
That's shocking.
And
for those of us who do not have children, this is very, very interesting.
So, and the cool thing about Girl Scouts as well is it's scalable. So girls can explore exactly what they want. They can earn every badge, or they don't have to earn any badges. It's all up to them. It's up to their leaders. If they want to go camping, they want to go hiking, if they want to go spelunking, they can do that. But if they'd rather, just work with animals or learn different languages or just hang out with their friends in a safe space, that's entirely possible as well.
Interesting.
So anyway, when Gwyneth moved up to Brownies, she transferred vests. And so, I'm missing one. But some of these are robotic programming, robot design, philanthropist, computer programming, healthy eating,
oh my goodness.
citizenship and their citizenship.
Wow.
And then on the back, equally, she did a lot of really cool fun stuff.
Hiking, swimming, stadium
and also,
night.
there are some badges too.
What is the whale one?
The whale watch? We went on a whale watch.
Whale watch.
We went up to Gloucester and she learned all about marine biology and got to check out some whales.
Oh my goodness.
And then we realized that she was motion sick and we haven't been back. But we had a lot of fun.
Can we see more on there?
On this one? Or you want to go to the next one?
I want to see each one.
Oh, okay. Well, I know we're kind of limited on time.
All the cool ones.
They're all cool. And, on the front, there's also World Thinking Day, which is actually where Girl Scouts think about the fact that Girl Scouts and Girl Guiding is a worldwide organization. There are Girl Scouts and Girl Guides in, I think, like 132 countries, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
And they all have that similar law, that similar promise.
Okay.
And, be a sister to every Girl Scout. There you go. So every year, February 22nd is what we call Thinking Day. And February 22nd is the birthday of Robert Baden-Powell, who's the founder of the Boy Scout movement in the United Kingdom, and his wife, Olive Baden-Powell, who was the first chief guide. And she started, she with her husband and his sister, they started the Girl Guide movement. Because they're like, why should boys have all the fun?
Absolutely.
Girls are equally qualified.
Yes. Fantastic.
Moving right along, then we have her junior vest, and she actually, she moved her bronze award. She did earn the bronze award. But, again, everything's color-coded. Junior aid, which is the brown bar down here, is kind of like leader in training. So she worked with younger Girl Scouts in a leadership role, supervised by adults, but she got to teach younger Girl Scouts some Girl Scout traditions.
Fantastic.
And then on the back, we have a lot more.
Fascinating. Oh, I see a STEM one. Yeah.
So I think that was one.
Cool.
Oh, yes. So every year, Burlington Girl Scouts have a STEAM day because we take STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, but we add art to it. So it's STEAM, science, technology, art, engineering, and math.
Okay.
So the girls get to explore hands-on activities that are sponsored by other Girl Scout troops.
Okay.
The council runs a fabulous STEM day where the entire camp, you mentioned all the acreage at Cedar Hill, where Girl Scouts can go and talk with a veterinarian, talk with a computer programmer, learn about 3D printing, learn from a NASA rocket scientist. I mean, it's phenomenal, the opportunities that Girl Scouts provide.
That is so amazing.
And then we got to her current uniform. So she got this as a sixth grader, which happened to be in the middle of COVID year. Oh, I gotta hold it up a little bit more. So the diamond-shaped badges are all the ones she earned in middle school. The rectangular ones are what she's earning now in 9th and 10th grade. And then ambassador, different shaped badges, but the girls, since everything is so much more involved, they don't have as much, they have more real estate, so that's why they can wear the vest a little longer.
Okay.
However, we have a very active troop.
Oh my goodness.
So Gwyneth still has 3 more years.
Oh my god.
And there's no more room on her uniform. But exactly, fall hike,
goodness.
we do 110 years of Girl Scouts, STEAM again, letters to the military, living the promise through faith and through spirituality, 4th of July parade, toy drive. So in addition to the Take Action projects being that sustainability and really making positive change, they also provide a lot of community service. One year we did birthdays in a box as our Girl Scout Sunday recognition because it was during COVID. We couldn't get together and do our STEAM Fest. So we had Girl Scouts drop off birthdays in a box, and we brought them over to people helping people. So anybody who frequented the pantry, if their child had a birthday, they would get a box that had, cake and frosting and goodie bags and all the paper plates and napkins and tablecloths, and one even had a piñata filled, So it's like, it's a way for the Girl Scouts to give back to their community.
Yeah.
So it's, it's a variety of things.
Amazing.
So yeah, she's still going strong.
Fascinating. Really interesting.
I don't know if we can, this is old because
Yeah.
there's so many changes and the program is dynamic. Girl Scouts USA is moving away from printed materials, and they're giving all the leaders online resources.
Okay.
But one of the, I like the color version better, one of the opportunities that are available on the girlscouts.org website is a comparison of all the different badges across all the levels.
Okay.
You know, so in Burlington, most of our troops are single level. So it's just daisies or just brownies. But there are neighboring communities where they have all ages.
Okay.
So if you wanted to work on a robotics badge, all Girl Scouts of all levels can work on it. So this is a tool that's online that helps leaders identify, okay, I want to do something outdoors. I want to do camping. What's available at all the levels? And it's right here.
Okay. We're coming almost to the end of our interview. I have a couple more questions
okay.
that I wanted to.
I could go on for hours with,
I know,
swag,
this is so exciting. I've learned so much. This is so wonderful. Let's see. The Girl Scouts, they have always been inclusive.
Absolutely.
Of race and socioeconomic status, of course, age. So I just wondered, how have they embraced the LGBTQ plus community?
Anybody who wants to join Girl Scouts is welcome to join Girl Scouts. There's a whole, there's like a whole division of the website that's specifically dedicated to diversity, equity, inclusion, racial justice, LGBTQ. Trying to remember. I had it written down, but ongoing commitment, recruitment, valuing diversity, inclusion, will not tolerate discrimination of any kind. They recruit membership and staff from communities that have historically been underrepresented. Indigenous people, gender inclusion, non-binary youth, transgender boys, in addition to anyone who identifies as a girl. Troop leaders, families, GSEMA can work together to support and empower non-binary and gender youth within Girl Scouting.
Oh, okay.
So there is that emphasis. And in fact,
that's wonderful.
GSEMA recently, within the past probably 5 or 6 years, has come up with the Red Rose Award. And that is given to a leader or a volunteer, doesn't necessarily need to be a troop leader, who has embodied, emphasized, and helped to grow the diversity in the Girl Scout program. Whether it's language barriers or gender barriers or socioeconomic, whatever. I think this past year we recognized a leader who identified the need for taking all the material and publishing it in different languages.
Fantastic.
A lot of stuff's translated into Spanish, but around here, what about different Indian dialects? What about Chinese dialects? Brazilian population is very big in this area, so translating it into Portuguese. I can't even begin to tell you all the other different languages, but
that's very exciting. To hear
there is room, and one thing that I've noticed about Girl Scouts is, in my experience, they really listen to your ideas, and they try to figure out a way to incorporate them and to improve the program for the betterment of society as a whole.
Good. One last question.
Okay.
So, the Boy Scouts,
yes,
in 2019, they started accepting girls.
Yes, they did.
So there is a perception out there that the Boy Scouts, now called Scouts of America, offer more hardcore outdoor training than the Girl Scouts. What is your take on that one?
Trying to figure out how to phrase this. Again, part of it goes back to the leaders. a lot of leaders like me were never exposed to the outdoors. And all of a sudden, you're asking me to take 12 6-year-olds on a hike in the woods and make lunch over a campfire. So it's hard to recruit the leaders, but there's so much training that's available in Girl Scouting to help those people who might have, agoraphobia or whatever you call the fear of nature. Give them the tools, baby steps, build the scaffolding, both for the girls and for the leaders, to build it up. And again, one big difference a couple of big differences that I've noted between the two programs is Boy Scouts is also very structured. In order to get here, you need to do this, this, and this. In order to get here, you need to do this, this, and this. Girl Scouts is, what do you want to learn about?
Interesting.
So, if you want to do outdoors, do outdoors. There's so many, outdoor adventure and whitewater rafting, caving, hiking. There's so many opportunities. There's actually one leader who's planning a trip to Iceland with her girls for the summer, and she's trying to recruit people to go to Costa Rica in 2026. Okay. So, there are other high adventure Girl Scout troops. They're just not as well known because they're not as popular. But, it's the two organizations are founded from the same parent organization. They've just developed differently based on the needs of the communities that they serve.
Yeah. Fascinating. We are fresh out of time, Linda, but it was so wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for letting me talk about what I love.
Oh my goodness. I could go on for another half hour. I want to hear more, but maybe that's another show. We'll have to do another one.
All right.
So for the moment, anyway, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
So next up, everyone, is our museum adventure. So let's see what we can find down there.
Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. A fire burns bright, it warms the heart. We've been friends from the very start. You have one hand, I have the other. Put them together and we have each other. Silver is precious, gold is too. I am precious and so are you. You help me and I'll help you. And together we will see it through. The sky is blue, the earth is green. I can help to keep it clean. Across the land, across the sea. Friends forever we will always be.
So today we have so much to show you. It's a very small amount, infinitesimal amount, let's say, for what's actually here. But we're going to give it a try. We have a few things to show you with some amazing volunteers. This is a totally volunteer organization. Our first volunteer has been with the museum for 41 years and involved in the Girl Scouts for 43. Her name is Francine Edwards, and I'd love to introduce you to her. And she's going to talk to us about the founder of the Girl Scouts in 1912, Juliet Gordon Low. Francine.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the museum. I want to tell you a little bit about Juliet Low. Juliet was born in Savannah, Georgia, and her nickname was Daisy. And we have Girl Scouts today that are called Daisies in honor of Juliet, and they're the youngest of the group. Well, Juliet got married to an Englishman, and she went over to Great Britain, and there she met Robert Baden-Powell, who was the founder of Boy Scouts. And he and his wife and his sister also founded the Girl Guides, and that's how Juliet got interested in girls doing what boys were doing. Back then, in 1912, it was certainly unusual. So anyway, When she came back to the United States, she was all excited. She had led some troops in Scotland and in England while she was married to Willie Lowe. And she came back to Savannah and called up her cousin and said, "You have to come. I've got something for the girls of America." And it was starting the Girl Scouts. She didn't want to call them Girl Guides. She wanted to call them Girl Scouts because it was different from the British. But now it's an international organization. So we're very proud of Juliet. She's been a wonderful inspiration to all of us.
So Claire Levac will tell us about Emma Hall, another fascinating figure in the Girl Scout history.
So Emma Hall lived in New Bedford, and she was a philanthropic lady. She did wonderful things for most of the people in the community. And either her minister or a friend of her minister was a cousin of Juliet Gordon Lowe. So she met Juliet through that and Juliet talked to her about bringing troops here. So in 1913, Emma Hall started the first troop in Massachusetts. It's the third troop in the U.S. It was called the Red Rose Troop, and they were together for over 100 years. They recently disbanded just a couple years ago. So she did a lot of wonderful things. She believed that Girl Scouts was for everyone, and we know her troops were integrated in the 1920s. We think it was integrated earlier, but that's the earliest that we can prove her troop was integrated. And we have pictures from the papers in 1925 that clearly show both black girls and white girls together doing things, which is really kind of exciting. So in Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts, we have a special award for troop leaders who go above and beyond to include diversity in their Girl Scout endeavors. And it's called the Red Rose Award. And it's this award here. And it's a fairly new award in Eastern Massachusetts, but we're very proud of it because there are many women who have earned this award, which shows that we're trying to do our best to involve every girl, not just the ones who could afford it or who live in here, wherever. We try to have them all come. Now, Emma Hall took her troop camping, so we actually have pictures from the camping in 1914. And we also have various things. So we have a newspaper article here where Red Rose Troop celebrate their 75th year. So these are all things, and these were all from Emma Hall's troop. So she brought a lot of Girl Scouts. Emma Hall not only became the first troop leader here, she went on through and did a lot of wonderful things for Girl Scouts and ended up on the national board. So she really did a lot of wonderful things for Girl Scouts in this area, and we're very proud of her.
Here we have a beautiful and an amazing artifact.
This is the flag from the Red Rose Troop 1. It is a wool flag. This is fairly old. So this is one of the first flags they had. And whenever they would go on a parade or march anywhere, this is the flag they took with them and they posted. And we have it here.
Our next topic here is Cornelia Warren, and Francine Edwards will tell us all about her.
Well, Cornelia Warren came from the Warren family, who were Bostonians, and they earned their money in paper mills in Maine. So Mr. and Mrs. Warren, Susan and Samuel, decided to build a summer home in Waltham on this hillside here, which is now known as Cedar Hill. So they built a large house. It had 18 rooms. It had 16 fireplaces because there was no central heating back then. And Cornelia was actually born in the house. And we have a picture of the mansion house here. She had 4 brothers, and they all went off and lived their lives, but Cornelia loved it here so much that she made this her permanent home. And it was a 200-acre working farm at the time, with over 100 cows and a lot of pasture land, where the mansion was situated, we are built on part of that foundation. Our museum is on the kitchen end of that foundation. And as you can see, it's on the top of a hill. And having 100 cows and running a first-class dairy, Cornelia started doing that herself when her father died. She managed things very, very well. And she loved people to come to her grounds. They had a pond. She invited people to come on Sunday picnics. She invited the children to come and play here. She had a maze built. She loved mazes. And she liked the one in Hampton Court in England. She traveled through Europe quite extensively. So she got the blueprint for it and had her gardeners plant the maze. And it was over 1,000 arborvitae trees. And it was even here when the Girl Scouts took over the property. So it was here for a very long time. But Cornelia had 3 full-time gardeners. And when the Girl Scouts took over the property, they couldn't afford to upkeep it. So eventually some blight came and it all deteriorated, and they finally removed it.
Mm-hmm. Great, so we're here at the Helen Storrow exhibit, and we have our ladies that will fill us in, our docent today, both of them, Francine and Claire. Here we go.
Well, Helen Storrow was a very interesting woman. She was actually born in upstate New York, but her brother had gone to Harvard, and she was over in Switzerland hiking, and her brother and his roommate happened to be hiking in Switzerland too. And I don't know if it was planned or if it was accidental, but they were coming down one of the mountains and she was going up one of the mountains, and they met. And she looked at her brother's roommate and said, Next thing you know, she moves to Boston and marries James Jackson Storrow. Now, you've heard of Storrow Drive. Well, the Storrow family was into financial abilities and banking and so forth. And they were also philanthropists, as Helen was herself. And they gave a whole bunch of land on the Charles River Basin to be a recreational area, to be green. It never intended to have a road on it. But after the Storrows both passed away, next thing you knew, there's a road called Storrow Drive. But anyway, it's a beautiful piece of property. Helen was interested in particularly girls in the inner city, immigrants. And she started to, she began to think that these girls needed somehow to get a job so that they could make money and make a living. So she started what they call the Saturday Evening Girls, which actually started at the Boston Public Library. But she took some of those older girls and taught them how to do ceramics. They made pottery. She bought a place on Hull Street in the North End and had 2 women run it, and they taught the girls how to make pottery, how to hand paint it, how to glaze it, and it grew to be a very successful business for those girls. And that pottery today is very collectible. It's in the Fine Arts, Museum of Fine Arts. We have a couple of pieces here, and there's some in the Cape Ann Museum, and I'm sure there are other collections other places. So with her interest in girls and her connections with the financial world and all her social strata, she knew Cornelia Warren. I wouldn't say they were exactly best friends, but they knew each other. And when Cornelia passed away, she wanted this particular 75 acres of land to be given for recreational purposes. And Helen, her husband, was actually one of the trustees of the Warren estate. So she sort of had an in, and she convinced the trustees that the Girl Scouts would be the organization that should own this property. So it was given to the Girl Scouts, Massachusetts Girl Scouts in 1923, thanks to Helen Starrow.
Also, you have here the Silver Fish, which is the highest international award, is that correct?
It's the highest award given to people from Great Britain. And since she was well known, and Claire can tell you more about this, in international circles of Girl Scouting and Girl Guiding, the British awarded her their highest honor called the Silver Fish. Now, only 3 of them were awarded to people outside of Great Britain. One of them was Juliet Gordon Low. Another one was Anne Hyde Choate, and the third one was Helen Osborne Starrow. So
Fascinating.
we have the silverfish, the actual silverfish that belonged to Helen. We have some of her uniforms. We have many of her artifacts. We have some of her handbooks. And we're very pleased to have them. She was really a wonderful Girl Scout and an inspiration to girls.
So we're here with Claire Levac, and we're going to have a look at the international centers, which Helen Starrow had created, I believe. Let's check with Claire.
So Helen Starrow bought land in Switzerland, and I can never say it properly, Adelboden, and she had built our chalet. And our chalet is a world center. It's designed for any Girl Scout or Girl Guide throughout the world. So anybody, you can go to a program there, and she had that built. She was very interested in international scouts and was instrumental in bringing international girls here. So we had many scouts from around the world come here, as well as go to other places. From our chalet, we branched out. We now have 5 world centers. So our chalet was the first one. We have Pax Lodge in England, which is where Robert Baden-Powell and Lady Baden-Powell and his sister Agnes Powell all did scouts. And so that is the center, and it is actually right in London. And anybody can go visit. You do need to make an appointment, but they'll take you on a tour through it and show you everything about it and what they do in England. Then we have Arcabana in Mexico, which is also a place where you can go and visit things. And we have Sangam in India, so you can go to India. And then the newest World Center is in Africa. It's called Kusapiri, and depends on what year it is and where it is. It moves around. Girls in Africa, it's very difficult for them to go from one country to another, so the World Center goes to them. And it has all sorts of things they can do, and each year it's in a specific area, and they have events that year in that area, which gives girls a chance to do things. Most girls can go to any of the World Centers if they can find the money, and the other is if there's an event they want to go to. Quite often there are things that are sponsored, so there are ways for you, if there's an event that you want to go to, you can get a scholarship to do it. So the idea, which is one of Helen's big things, was to give the girls an opportunity to meet other people and other cultures.
This is really surprising. I had no idea, but Francine, please clue us in.
Yes. There were 2 types of senior scouts that were unusual, and they were called mariners, and their object was to study things about the sea and about rules of the sea, Morse code, weather. You had to know the weather if you're going sailing. So that's what Mariner Scouts were about, and they were in high school. Another branch was what they called Wing Scouts. As wing may indicate, they were not bird watchers, but they were actually people who studied aviation and could earn a pilot's license if they were diligent about it. And I knew a woman in my hometown in Lexington who had been a Wing Scout during World War II. And they learned all the silhouettes of enemy planes, and they would go out to Hanscom Field and observe to see if any incoming planes, they could identify them as being enemy planes or friendly planes. And they were very vigilant about that, and they did this all up and down the coasts, both coasts, East Coast and West Coast, because they were afraid that, the Germans would come or the Japanese would come. And so they did a great service for the communities during wartime.
Okay, so here we're coming up to our closing exhibit, and this is a real special one, 100 Years of Gold. And Francine will tell us about that.
Well, the highest award in Girl Scouts is the Gold Award, and that is today's award, the Gold Award. But it has an interesting history through the years. It started out as the Golden Eaglet of Merit, and then in 1920, they changed it to be the Golden Eaglet, and we have a real Golden Eaglet here. We do not have a Golden Eaglet of Merit. And then in 1938, it changed to the First Class, and this is the symbol, there's a pin, and that was the First Class. And then in 1948, it was the First Class with curved bar. It still was the highest rank. Again, in 1963, they changed its name back to First Class. And today it's called the Gold Award. This was renamed in 1980. However, throughout all the years, this is very difficult for girls to earn. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of planning. Mostly it's older girls who win this award. There are other awards such as the bronze and the silver, but the gold is the highest. And it's even tougher to get, I've heard from Boy Scouts, than the Eagle Award of Boy Scouts. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of requirements, and the girls work very hard.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a bit about, the one I find fascinating is in 1916, there was an electrician's badge for a young woman?
Yes. And girls had to learn, among other requirements, but one of the requirements was they had to know how the power source got through the resistant wires to get to wherever it was going, to start your toaster or your flat iron or whatever was going to heat things, your stove, your oven, all of that. And they had to be able to explain that they understood how that energy got from its origin into your house.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Another one here which fascinated me.
What about Beeling? Yes.
Beeling.
Yes, you had to be at least 18. You had to score at least 85 on a written test. And you had, of course, to learn how to drive and learn all about motors, how to change a flat tire, all that kind of things, because back then they used to get flat tires a lot. Mm-hmm. So that was a fascinating thing. So it was for older girls, of course, mm-hmm. not the younger ones.
Interesting. And we think of Henry Ford doing electric cars back in the years of 1911, 1912. They had already been experimenting with electric cars. So before we move on, do you want to talk about the bricks and the camper ships?
Yes.
That helps students?
Yes. I had mentioned that Cornelia had a maze here. Well, of course, it's no longer here. Actually, when I was a Girl Scout and I was here camping in 1952 or so, the maze was still here, but it was really torn down. But I had the opportunity to go through it. And we still have the granite benches and the fountain that was in the center. And an idea came for raising money to give camper ships to girls who couldn't afford to come to camp. So they devised a smaller version of the maze made out of bricks. And we sell the bricks in memory of somebody, or just to honor somebody, or just if you had a wonderful leader and you wanted to recognize her, or him, because we have men that lead too, then you can buy a brick to honor them. And every penny of that goes for camper ships so girls can attend camp. And it's a wonderful thing. We've had over 400 young women here over the last couple of weeks, and it's a wonderful opportunity. We have the climbing wall, we have archery, we have swimming, they have some canoeing and kayaking, of course outdoor cooking and all of that. All of things you'd expect from Girl Scouting. So.
Well, Francine, I can't thank you enough for this tour, both you and Claire. This has just been wonderful. This is such a gem in our midst. I hope that you can put this on your list for summer visits with your family. Again, you can make an appointment on the Girl Scout website, which is gsema.org. You'll see all that information at the end of the show. So any questions, you can always email or give them a call or connect through the website. This experience, again, thank you so much for having us. It's been such a pleasure being with you and learning about all of this wonderful history. So it's not only Girl Scout history we're looking at, it's women's history as well. So it's just so fascinating to me. I hope you've learned as much as I have and have enjoyed it. So until our next adventure, I look forward to seeing you again.
Across the land, across the sea, friends forever we will always be. Make new friends, but keep the old friends. But keep the old sun is silver and the other's gold. A circle it has long and to last. How long I want to be your friend. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. A fire burns bright, it warms the heart. We've been friends from the very start. You have one hand, I have the other. Put them together and we have each other. Silver is precious, gold is too. I am precious and so